Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. You know, I get my ideas for the topics of these shows from the strangest of places.
Last week, if you'll remember, I was at a music festival and I had to visit the toilets.
It was there that inspiration hit me. Cesspool!
Meet Cesspool. This figure was released in 1991 with all original body parts. At first glance, what comes to mind here is regality crossed with insanity. Looking at the outfit as a whole, there's something of a Roman general there. All he needs is a cape, really, merged with the outrageousness we've come to expect from Cobra. I of course have to talk about the head sculpt, which is fairly unique, what with the huge scar running over the face and the dead eye. This dude has had a pretty bad day once. Almost makes me not want to make fun of his receding hairline. Almost. This figure has the most intricate and badass Cobra logo I've ever seen on a figure molded on his chest. It really shouldn't be there, but I'll get into that when talking about the character. I will say that with the regal look, the best Cobra logo ever, and his head, somebody not too familiar with G.I. Joe could easily mistake this figure for being Cobra Commander.
But alas, he is not.
The toy is part of the Eco Warriors line, and as such has the annoying feature of plastic that changes color when exposed to water. And after a few years, these discolorations can become permanent, making it uglier. A real shame.
When it comes to his accessories, it's a matter of the good, the weird, and the ugly.
We'll start with the good, his helmet. Though it looks a bit bulky, it fits the guy well. It does make him look even more like Cobra Commander for the uninitiated, though. The weird is his weapon. It's a golden chainsaw gun thing. I suppose everything and anything can be blinged up. Lastly, there's the standard mini water gun all Eco Warrior toys seem to have. It's too big for the figure and too small to be a good water gun. It only has like one squirt in it. Overall, I like this toy, but I would have liked it a lot more if it didn't have color-changing splotches and a freaking water gun.
At least with the water gun, I can just throw it into my garage and forget about it.
And hey, he'd actually make a good Cobra Commander toy, just because of the Cobra emblem. Hell, repaint that sucker and make your own, like I did. And that was the only toy Cesspool ever got in the original line. He did get a second figure in 2014 as part of the Collectors Club line, but I don't have it. Well, it looks okay in pictures, I guess.
With that, let's get to know the character, starting with the file card. Actually, you know what? Forget about the file card for a moment. Let's discuss his freaking name.
Cesspool. Cesspool. This guy chose his own codename, and from the limitless choices available to him, he settled on Cesspool. Who would do that? Nobody would do that. This is like if a new medic joined the Joe team and voluntarily called himself Stool Sample.
Oh, but it gets better.
Cesspool's real name is Vincent D'Aleva, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. He was named after a real person, the Hasbro executive overseeing G.I. Joe at the time, in fact. Now, normally, I'd consider it a great honor if your name was given to a G.I. Joe toy.
Hint, Hasbro, hint!
But in this case, I'm getting some mixed messages here. You honor who is essentially your boss by naming him after a barrel of crap.
Actually, there may be an explanation for this.
You see, his name wasn't gonna be Cesspool at first. Hasbro, in their infinite originality, had come up with the name of Oil Baron. Yeah, great name there. Larry Hama, the writer of the comic, wasn't impressed either. In fact, he probably wasn't too thrilled with having to include the whole Eco-Warriors thing in the comic, describing it as another Cobra Law.
I can see his point.
So it was probably Hama who changed the name to Cesspool as a not-so-subtle dig.
Those sure were a lot of words talking about just his name. Let's talk about the actual character now.
He was the CEO of a huge company that dabbled in oil, chemicals, and mills. His business was getting constant grief from environmentalists, so he took a group of them on a tour of his chemical plant to show how environmentally safe it was. Due to shoddy construction, the scaffolding on which he stood collapsed, and he fell into toxic sludge, disfiguring him.
There's something vaguely familiar about this,
He blamed the environmentalists, not the subcontractor who made the scaffolding, for his accident and vowed revenge. He joined Cobra since he believed that organization would make the best use of him.
Well, that's actually a bit boring and cliché, isn't it? I mean, it's exactly the kind of origin story you'd expect. Color me unimpressed.
The only other thing I'll mention is his card art. He looks like an angry John Lithgow. Well, with facial scarring, obviously. As far as the comic goes, I'm gonna be brief. Cesspool and the whole Eco-Warriors thing was shoehorned into the comic as an edict from Hasbro. To their credit, they did the best they could and planted their tongues firmly in their cheeks. They pretty much call the eco-uniforms eyesores and mention they're made out of recycled action figures. Cesspool does his thing, ends up getting captured by Firefly, who wants to trade him back to Cobra Commander, who politely declines. And that's the last we see of him. Though I should mention that in the newer Devil's Due comic, he ends up getting killed by Cobra as part of tying up loose ends.
That leaves us with the cartoon series. Specifically, Deke. Oh boy.
Yeah, Cesspool appeared in the Deke series. He got a two-parter even, called The Sludge Factor. It starts off with the guy giving a press conference about his new super fertilizer. The Eco-Warriors are there for some reason. He's holding his talk while standing on a walkway above his perfectly safe fertilizer, and I'm sure OSHA would have a thing or two to say about that when things get interrupted. A battle android trooper has infiltrated the plant and attempts to blow it up. Flint tries shooting the thing, but then this happens.
You did this to me!
That's it! Now I know why his origin story was so familiar to me!
Yeah, it's exactly the same as how the Joker was born in Tim Burton's Batman, down to the hand appearing and everything. Only, instead of a clown, he looks like Two-Face. For the rest of Part 1, he appears with his helmet on, not revealing who he is to the Joes. It's only at the very end he takes off the helmet, which looks nothing like the toy by the way, to the shock of absolutely no one with any brain cells. It's also only at the end that he becomes partners with Cobra Commander. He doesn't join Cobra, he just teams up with them. Which begs the question why he had a huge Cobra logo on his chest prior to that point.
Oh, and his motivation in the cartoon?
Well, he does blame Flint for his accident, and he actually has a point there. I mean, the idiot did start shooting wildly earlier, but he has other reasons for polluting.
I'll tell you why. Because I hate the human race and everything it stands for. I hate blue skies and clean water. I hate wildflowers and pretty girls. I hate beauty and grace and cleanliness.
He hates things of beauty. K?
You know, I'm pretty sure this guy was on his way to film a Captain Planet episode and accidentally wandered into the wrong studio. I'm not gonna talk about the rest of the sludge factor, as I intend to review it later. Needless to say, good guys win, Cesspool disappears, the end.
And that was Cesspool. My thoughts?
I like the toy, I really do. In of itself, it looks kind of regal. Hell, I wouldn't have minded if this was what Cobra Commander ended up actually looking like. Especially considering the alternatives.
The character, however...
Yeah, this is the most unoriginal G.I. Joe character since Superhero, the Indian Superman knockoff that used G.I. Joe parts. Yes, that's a real thing. His origin is that of the Joker. His facial scars are so cliché, I don't know what to pick, so I'll just go with Two-Face again. And he's basically a Captain Planet villain. The only original part of him is his name, and even that didn't come from Hasbro, who wanted to name him Oil Baron. That just makes me think of J.R. Ewing, just like Hama did. Has Hasbro ever had an original thought, ever? So yeah, in conclusion, cool toy, woefully unoriginal character that was named after a barrel of excrement.
See you next time, everybody!